All right, guys, so here's the problem. I am trying to outfit this Fish Sup 1210 or FS 1210 from the folks at Sea Eagle with a motor. Now, the first thing I did is test it with the standard motor mount that they have and a Torpedo tiller arm. I'm going to tell you straight up that when I use the standing bar, take the seat out and use a tiller extender, this will be the ultimate flats fishing boat. And that's all you need because it's easy, it's simple, it's clean. This thing actually paddles pretty well as well. So I've outfitted it with a couple of camera mounts so we can do a lot of testing. And then I've set the motor mount up to accommodate a motor design that I have. So when I say here's the problem, what I'm going to start doing in the future, instead of doing all this stuff behind the scenes and then just coming at you with, look, here's the deal. I've learned through the vetted PFD design process and some of the other stuff that I've done with Catch that y'all's insight is invaluable to steering the course of where we go, how we go, what we go, and what the ultimate destination for the finished product is. So, in keeping with, you know, some of the shows out there like Orange County Chopper and things like that where you're along for the build, we're going to start doing that. So here's the problem that I have, and then you guys can help me with the solution. The transom mount doesn't have a great way to integrate with a standard Torpedo mount, okay? This is a product they already make, and it comes with the fish kit. Instead of replacing this whole thing, I was trying to come up with something that would work to where you could still use this. It's still really easy pull pin setup, but then your motor mount is much more easily locked into place. So what I did is I designed this plate, sent the dimensions over to, and when I say this plate, let me show you what I'm talking about. I designed this plate, sent the dimensions over to the folks at Catch, and they made me the plate where I have a Torpedo mount on one end, bow mount motor mount on the other end, and then I can play around with it. But you need this extra length so that you have the ability to slide this plate back and forth until you find that optimal distance for where the motor needs to be to get the best performance based on where you sit, your loadout, and all that good stuff. So this is the problem we're facing. Here's my initial stab at the solution and where you knuckleheads come in. So I talked to my good buddy Greg Massa at 3D Yak Designs, and he came over. Actually, let me show you what I did first. So bear with me. He made me a part out of 3D printed material called TPU. And what makes TPU unique is that it flexes. So I took that part and I hacked it up with a hacksaw and I slid it underneath here and did one set of testing, and I went, wait a minute, I need to bring the knuckleheads along for the ride. So I called Greg, he stopped by here after work, we did some measurements, and then what he did is made me this part right here. So I'll go ahead and show it to you. Again, guys, there's no payoff on the end of this video other than that I'm asking you for your advice, but I want you to be brought along for the ride. So we took these measurements and then he printed this TPU spacer. When he dropped this off, he actually said, dude, I could have made this encapsulated, and then it would have been to where you could have this distance on one side, the other distance on the other side, and then you could play with it. So he's making another part to where we can test it this way. Then if we need it to be a little bit thicker, we can take it off, flip it over, slide it down, and now you end up with two different dimensions. So that part is in work right now. This is the point when I said, you know what? It probably makes sense to bring the knuckleheads along for the ride. So I'm going to show you what else I'm working on that I need your input on, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that's an internet genius that's going to think of something that I didn't. So here's where we're at. Originally I took this seat plate off and I was going to use it, and I actually kind of jacked one of these up and had to get a second one, and this is way more expensive than it needs to be for what we're trying to accomplish. So I used this as a piece to try the motor mount because it actually worked out where it almost fit perfectly. What this is this is the base for the seat that comes with it that attaches to that just like that. Now, a couple things about this seat, and you know, nothing against Sea Eagle, but the seat's relatively cheap and there's not a lot of room for improvement, adding stuff to it, things like that. And it swivels all the time. Plus this plate has a tendency to flex. So I have a call scheduled with John from Sea Eagle later today to talk about replacing this with one of these that goes across. It's a little wider, a little stiffer, and gives you more seating options. So speaking of seating options, I ordered one of these cheap, probably Alibaba seats to play around with, and we played around with setting it up on the boat like so. And Duke from Catch is actually making me a plate that has a side piece that goes on here that captures these legs and has a little slot in it with a hook so you can raise it up into the high position and back down. So that prototype is in work. All right, now here's where you knuckleheads come in. I happen to have this seat laying around from when I owned a shop called Hook One. Okay, this is an old native seat with a pan on it that happened to have these feet on the bottom. So I'm gonna attach some foam EVA to the bottom of this so that I get grip. What I'm gonna do is run steering cables through these rings right here to the front of the boat to steer this torpedo motor through the steering triangle. And the way that I'm envisioning accomplishing this is I took apart one of my light stands, and again, this is prototyping 101, and I'm gonna make this my riser. I'm gonna take one of these Yak Attack bases, I'm gonna connect it to it so it sits on the boat, and I'm not gonna glue it in place. And then I'm gonna make a pivot for this bar to sit on, and I'm gonna attach the line to both ends, and to adjust the length, I can just wraps around both ends. And the idea will be, I sit in the seat, I have this ability to be adjusted, and I set the height to where it hits my foot, and I use the bar to steer like so, until I decide what the permanent solution is, which is to probably make something that locks into where he puts the stand-up bar with a standard steering mechanism that runs to the back. So back to the back on what info I need here's what I need you guys to help me with. What do you see as the ultimate solution for fixing this back steering area? And let me tell you where I'm at right now and what I'm gonna do that I'm gonna test this evening. And then I'll get back to you in the second video after taking what I do and your feedback. I'm gonna put some EVA foam on the bottom of this plate that allows it to grip against this EVA foam that's on the boat. I'm also going to take my seat and I'm gonna match up this hole pattern with the back of it, and I'm gonna bolt it in from the top, so that way my weight helps hold this down a little bit when we put the weight of the motor. This plate, when I tighten these brackets down, and the spacer helps hold the plate down, and then all I've gotta do is adjust it back and forth while adjusting the seat. Then I'll take the seat apart and adjust it independently to determine where's the optimal location to make this the ultimate rig. Now, I'm gonna tell you the payoff, and then I'm gonna have Austin edit this in, the image of the boat that I'm working on, which really kicked off my relationship with Sea Eagle and has taken it to the next level, is that we're launching the vetted Mark 1 is what we're calling it for now. And all of this R&D is going to be information that we take over to make the ultimate inflatable, transportable, but if you don't want it to be transportable, inflatable rig that is the most bulletproof inflatable rig on the market. So Sea Eagle, I'll get Austin to pan around. They sent me that Fast Cat 12, which is an absolute beast, and I'm going to get them to make one of that in green. They just don't know it yet, that we can use for duck hunting and flats fishing because it's a pretty badass platform. But some of the components on that and some of the components on this can be combined together to make a much more durable boat that is going to be bulletproof when it comes to the type of fishing that we do, that us knuckleheads do for how we do it. One of the drawbacks to fish sup type things is we like a cockpit. So we're going to make a cockpit with these side pieces. We're going to have I'll stop right there. I'm going to come back to this project because I could go crazy. Comment on what you think we should do with that design when you see the image at the end of the video. But for the purpose of this video, I need some suggestions on steering. One thing I will tell you is this is going to be the battery location for the Torqeedo battery so that it's all right there together. And then I'm going to glue on a Yak Attack mount up that, well, I already did right here for the throttle mount. So that way it's all clean, it's bulletproof. And then there's a stand-up bar that goes right here that's about this tall. And I've already let John at Sea Eagle know that I think it should be a little bit lower so it hits you about right here, because one of the things that my fat ass is going to do is, one, I'm getting back in shape. I'm going to start hiking, climbing, bike packing, doing the things that I used to do back before that gentleman behind the camera was even born. And I used to fly fish a lot. Fly fishing was my fishing. Used to be partner in a fly shop, and I'm going to get back to that. And these type of craft that we can put together in a bag, that we can tow behind a bike, or that we can fly with, are going to be the ultimate adventure craft for that type of fishing. Might not be for everybody, but there's a lot of bodies that it will be for. And so instead of doing all of this in a vacuum, I wanted to do this and bring you guys along for the ride. Oh, last but not least, this stand right here is badass when it comes to getting the boat up high so you're not constantly bent over. I love the folks that make the stand, Stone Hands over there, that make that rack. But what's cool about that rack is you can get on and off of it. But when it comes to rigging and outfitting, you can just have, you can save your back basically, and you can have this work platform for when you're scratching your head and you're trying stuff. You're not constantly in that bent over position. So big shout out to the folks at Suspends for also giving an exclusive deal to KBF members. This video is not sponsored by anybody except us. And when I say us, I mean Kayak Bass Fishing or KBF. So if you could do me a favor, help support the channel. You can join as a supporter, an ambassador, or a premium member, all with different benefits. You get 10x back your membership, and the folks at Sea Eagle, good night. The folks at Sea Eagle and Suspends are both offering KBF exclusive deals that are too good to advertise and too good to market. It's better than any deal you're going to find anywhere else, and you will see those on the KBF members only page once you join. All right, so thank you guys for all your support, helping us be where we are. Please do me a favor and consider joining KBF if you haven't done so yet, to help get us where we need to go for conservation, for safety, for community, for opportunities. And give me some feedback on this inflatable rig. Not just this inflatable rig, but inflatable rigs in general, so that we can make the best possible watercraft. We can help them evolve this into the ultimate watercraft with a few tiny tweaks. It's actually pretty badass right now. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.